Good evening, children. In my previous video, I discussed about the population growth equation and the formula to be used for calculation of natality and mortality. And then I discussed the very important topic about growth models. Three things we had to study and we completed it last time. The types of growth models, that is the J-shaped and the S-shaped, their equations, graphs and examples. So all this we had done till the last time with these details about the two types of curves. Today's topic to begin is life history variation. Under this, your syllabus requires two things about reproductive fitness: definition and examples. Reproductive fitness is also called as Darwinian fitness. In other words, it's the high R value. R means the intrinsic value of natural increase. Under this we will try to explain that every population tries to maximize the reproductive fitness in habitat where it lives. For example, let's talk about the definition first. Reproductive fitness is a measure of genetic contribution of an individual to the next generation's gene pool relative to the average for the population. It describes the individual reproductive success and it is measured by the number of offspring or close kin that survive to the reproductive age. Populations evolved to maximize their reproductive fitness in the habitat in which they live. Under a particular set of selection pressures, organisms evolve towards the most efficient reproductive strategy. Reproductive fitness depends on the following factors. Number one, lifespan. That means how much time does an organism survive or live. For example, some species live very long, like humans. On the other hand, some survive for a short time only, like insects. Then, breeding. Some breed only once in a lifetime. For example, bamboo and Pacific salmon. Whereas some breed several times in the lifetime. Example, most birds and mammals. Then, offsprings. Some produce a large number of small-sized offsprings. Example, oysters and pelagic fishes. Pelagic means the seas, open areas of the sea. Whereas some produce a number of large-sized offsprings. Example, birds, mammals. Life history traits of organisms have evolved in relation to the constraints imposed by the abiotic, that means non-living, and biotic, that is a living components of the habitat in which they live. So, in reproductive fitness, children, maximum thing what can they ask in the final exam could be the definition or an example. So, if it is asked to define, you will definitely write that this is also called as Darwinian fitness with a high R value, and you'll write the definition and the examples about the factors like all the organisms we have mentioned here with more lifespan, long lifespan, or the short time of the life, then breeding and about the offspring along with the examples. So that would be enough. Moving to our new topic, population interactions or biotic factors of the environment. This is a very interesting topic to study, like various populations, how they interact. As we know, children, in nature, no species can live in isolation. For any species, there must be at least one or more species what it can feed upon, right? So, for example, even if you talk about the green plants, right? The green plants which make their own food also cannot survive alone. They also need simple microorganisms to break down the organic matter and return it to the soil. Then animals, they are also required by plants for pollination, dispersal of fruits, seeds, etc. Right? So more or by and large, there's a biotic community that is evolved, and there are many interactions of the populations. All right? So populations, let's begin, interact in a number of ways to form a biological community. Right? There's a term what we call as interspecific interaction. Populations of different species living in a habitat often interact in various ways, and this is called as interspecific interaction. Now, population interactions we are going to study under two heads: negative interactions and positive interactions. Under negative, there are four types of relationships we'll study: predation, number one; second, parasitism; third, competition; and fourth, aminalism, also called abiosis, antibiosis. Then, the ones that are under positive interaction are only two: commensalism and mutualism or symbiosis. One more thing to talk before we proceed further is the population interaction. If we write as positive, this means beneficial, that means one party is being benefited. Then if we write negative, means one partner is being harmed. If we write neutral, right, or in the tables if we write as 0, this means neither the partner is being harmed nor benefited. For example, page 689, if you see, this is a table in your textbook. We show population interactions through a plus and minus sign over here. Negative interaction, suppose there are two partners A and B. One is positive, means suppose predation, A positive, B negative. That means A is being benefited, B is being harmed. Or suppose like this, both are negative, right? That means it is harmful for both of them. Like aminalism, minus and 0. Minus means this partner it is harmful for, and this is neither harmful nor beneficial. So this is what the signs mean about plus, minus and neutral or 0. So today we'll talk about the negative interactions. For example, the first one is predation. Predation, you will see a picture and you will understand what it means. This is a hawk predating over a small bird like a sparrow. So predation is, by definition, the direct food relation between two organisms of different species, in which one animal, that is the predator, captures, kills and feeds upon the other, that is the prey. So in this case, the small bird is the prey and the big one is the predator. Now there could be many relationships like this. For example, tiger and deer, hawk and small bird, snake and rabbit, snake and rat, frogs and insect, etc. There's a higher form of predation we call as cannibalism. Cannibalism means it's a special form of predation in which a predator and prey belong to the same species. For example, if you have heard about the cannibals in various parts of the world, that means, for example, a human being eats the flesh of another human being after killing it and then eating its own flesh. This is called as cannibalism. We'll also talk about the predatory plants. You must have heard about the insectivorous plants, children. They feed on insects. For example, let's say Venus's flytrap, pitcher plant, etc. Right? Then let us move to another topic under predation. We'll talk about adaptations in organisms to avoid predation. That means these small organisms which are falling a prey to the predator, they have various adaptations both in animals as well as in plants. So this is the next topic to study. If we talk about the defense mechanism, the topic is defense mechanism in animals, then there are a variety of defense mechanisms to study. The first one is, for example, in insects and frogs, right? This is very normally seen in insect and frogs. Some species, they are cryptically colored or camouflaged, right? This is to avoid being detected by the predator. Most of the frogs and insects, they are camouflaging, that means mixing with the surrounding so that the predator may not notice it. The second is monarch butterfly. Monarch butterfly, this is a native of America, right? It has black and red or orange spots, and this is let's say suppose it's a prey to the predator, which is a bird. Like how this is going to defend itself? How is this butterfly going to be saving its life from the predator? You know, it is said that the monarch butterfly, during its caterpillar stage, during its early stage when it's a caterpillar, right, it feeds on a poisonous weed, right? Now this poisonous weed makes a substance in the body of the butterfly which is highly distasteful. This chemical that is made is because of its feeding on a poisonous weed. Weed means a wild plant. So because of this distasteful or unpalatable taste, it forms its safety, and it avoids being a prey to the predator bird. Alright. Coming next to defense mechanism in plants. In plants, there are a variety of defense mechanisms, right? For example, number one, let's say thorns and spines. They are seen in plants like acacia, opuntia, and ziziphus. Alright. Now these thorns and spines, they are defense mechanisms against browsing animals. Second, there is a plant called cleome, and it has glandular hairs, right? The another one we call as nephallium. This has hair coating and protection against herbivorous animals. Then plants like mango, guava, lychee, and jambulina, right? Jambulana, they harbor ants to protect them from herbivores. Then many plants produce and store chemicals that make the herbivores sick. Right? The herbivorous organisms which feed upon those plants, they become sick. Next, fifth is calotropis, which is a weed or a wild plant. This produces highly poisonous cardiac glycosides to keep the cattle and goat away from browsing. And the last is chemical substances like nicotine, caffeine, quinine, opium, and strychnine, etc. They're produced as defenses against grazers, but the commercial use makes the people extract them for their own benefits. So if you get a short note on this topic, children, adaptations in organisms to avoid predation, you'll have to define or explain both the sides. Under animals, it's an example of insect and frog and the monarch butterfly. Then under the plants, you have some 6 examples, right? So you can explain. Then the first relationship is completed. I hope you've understood, children. Predation, the first form of negative interaction, is over. Alright, moving to the second interaction is parasitism. Parasitism is different from predation. In predation, the predator kills the prey. But parasitism, the parasite does not kill the host. It's a relationship between a parasite and a host. So let's define it. Parasitism is food relationship between organisms of two different species in which the smaller one lives on or within the larger one and obtains the food from it. There are two organisms. One is a parasite which obtains the food, and the other is a host, one which provides food and shelter to the parasite, right? Under this, there are two types of parasites, ectoparasites and endoparasites. Ecto means which live on the surface of host, and endo means which live inside the host's body, right? So in this category, the ectoparasite, what comes as example would be lice, fleas, blood-sucking lice, or the fleas that they suck the juice of the plants, as in case of aphids, or feed on living tissue. Then what comes under endoparasite? Plasmodium, which causes malaria. Then tinea, that is a tinea solium, which causes the disease called tiniasis, etc. Alright, so this is the definition of parasitism. Now in your textbook, children, I'd like to show you there are many types of parasites that are explained. This is page number 691. Types of parasites. The first is ecto and endoparasites. This is mentioned in your syllabus. Temporary and permanent, they are not to be done. Third, pathogenic, non-pathogenic, not required. Then the fourth one is holoparasite and hemiparasite, not mentioned in the syllabus. Hyperparasite, root, stem, obligate parasites or phyto, they are not required to be studied at all. The syllabus only mentions brood parasitism in birds, the one that you see a tick, and here, right, that is endo and ecto. I'll show you so that you don't get confused about what is to be studied or not. See, we are studying parasitism, ecto, endo and brood parasites, and that's all for parasitism. Though there are many things given, children, so no need to get confused. There are some 9 types of parasites given. 10 types. In your textbook, see, there are 10 types given, but you have to study only 2. The first is ecto and endoparasites, and the second is brood parasitism in birds. Brood parasitism is a very interesting form to study. We also call it as social parasitism, right? Now in this is found in birds like cuckoo, which lays its egg in crow's nest. Alright. Now what happens? The eggs of cuckoo and crow, they are very similar. Similar in what? Their color, shape, size, etc. Right. Now what happens? The cuckoo bird lays its egg in crow's nest, and the eggs of the brood parasite, that is, who is the brood parasite? This is the cuckoo. It will be much in similarity to the eggs of the host in size, color and texture. So the host bird is not able to detect the foreign eggs. Host bird will be crow and the brood parasite would be cuckoo. So it is to be underlined, the brood parasite is cuckoo and the host is crow. And all the incubation, hatching and rearing of young ones is looked after by the crow for its own eggs as well as for the eggs of the cuckoo. So such type of parasitism in a social form is called as a brood parasitism, which is very interesting to study. Then that completes the second relationship also, that is the parasitism. Coming to the third, competition we'll do next time. Coming to the third one for today is aminalism or antibiosis. Aminalism means this interaction is one in which presence of one species does not allow individuals of other species to grow or live. Inhibition is achieved by secretion of some allochemicals. You'll understand this better with this example. Look at this. There are many relationships that you can see are crossed in each pair. I'll just show you. It's at page number 695, given only in this small area. 2 paragraphs, small paragraphs to study. Let us understand. Aminalism, if we compare 6 points or let's say 6 partners, right? Then suppose penicillium. All of us know penicillium is a fungus, right? If penicillium fungus and a bacterium which we call as Staphylococcus bacterium, they are grown in the same medium, then it so happens that this fungus will not allow the bacteria to grow. So the one that is crossed will die out. So that is why I've crossed it purposely. It's not wrong. It's just to tell you that if fungus lives with the bacterium in the same medium, the bacterium is not allowed by the fungus. This relationship is aminalism or antibiosis, right? The second example. Another fungus, Aspergillus, which fails to grow in the presence of trichoderma, right? So this fungus is not allowed by trichoderma to be grown. Then another organism Convolvulus evanescens. This inhibits the germination of or the growth of wheat. So wheat plant will not be able to live in this presence, right? Then there are certain weeds that are kind of killed, or let's say sorghum, sunflower and barley, which are also called as smoother crops. They do not allow certain weeds to grow nearby. So if it's on a land area, suppose these plants are grown, then these weeds will not be grown at all. That is why they are called as smoother crops. These plants, sorghum, sunflower and barley, they are called smoother crops. Then the fifth example, roots of black walnut, we call as Juglans nigra. They produce a toxic chemical called juglone, and this is very toxic for the plants like tomato, apple and alfalfa. They will not be able to live. Finally, Tagetes, it secretes a chemical which is toxic to the nematodes or the worms, which will not be able to infest. So this is the example of aminalism, where you can see the presence of one species is not allowing the other to grow or live in the nearby area. So today we'll stop here, children. 3 relationships of interactions we have done today. I'd just like to show you what are the things we have done. We've completed 3, that is predation, parasitism, under this types of parasites, ecto and endoparasites, and we had done brood parasitism or social parasitism. Then aminalism we did, which is also under the negative interaction, and the examples, right? This comes under predation, what we discussed, that is the adaptations in organisms to avoid predation, defense mechanism in animals and the defense mechanism in plants. So that's all for today, children. In my next video, we'll complete the other 3 relationships. This is the last in this topic, children. My next time video would be on competition, then commensalism and mutualism. This is the last topic to be completed in my next video. So I'm going to send you the pages for today. Here, just 3 to 4 lines to write, half a page over here. Then this will go horizontally, children. You will write it like this, 2 pages and another 2. So total of 5.5 pages I am going to send you for the notes to be written like this and revised. Any doubts, children? Please feel free to ask. Thank you.